It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 368. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
These crab cakes are so good, y'all. You have no idea.
And Thalen.
I'm jealous. I want crab cakes.
They're so good.
I got my third vaccination yesterday.
Nice.
Also jealous there. I need to schedule that.
So did Grace, and that's the reason Grace isn't here.
That's why I haven't done it yet, is because I've had a project with a deadline that I really didn't want to risk losing a day on. But I'm past that particular deadline, so.
I feel like the booster hasn't been well communicated, because I had no idea this rollout was happening.
So it's still technically available for phase 2 people from the original. So either you are in a job of a specific thing or you have extenuating health circumstances. However, when I went to get it at Walgreens, they just handed me a piece of paper that said, check which one of these you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't exactly highly regulated.
Yeah. My work has told us that they contacted these particular three pharmacies and verified with each of them that we'd be eligible. So
yeah, I would assume
schedule it.
Because of your job and because of my job, it would be the same justification.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm mostly doing okay, but I woke up pretty groggy and I also got my flu shot at the same time.
Aha.
So I have both arms sore for different reasons. But anyway,
giving your immune system a challenge.
Apparently, yeah. No, I mostly just have a splitting headache and general aches, but I don't know which one from. So one of the things we've not really talked about is the fact that in a normal scenario, we would have been playing Final Fantasy XIV right now.
It's true.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be released for pre-release or whatever.
Would have been Friday.
Early access, yeah.
I mean, it's a little sad that due to circumstances, their launching of their moon-themed game right during one of the longest lunar eclipses.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. It would have been so good.
But I get it, and I feel so much for the team because they looked heartbroken when giving the announcement that they were going to have to delay. So,
they've earned a lot of credit with all of the players. They say, we needed to delay this for 2 weeks to make sure that it's ready. We believe them. They wouldn't do this if it wasn't necessary.
And I want it to be a good launch, especially this year with the onslaught of new players. I'm kind of happy they took extra time to do some final planning to make sure that the launch was going to go off successfully. Because I didn't want another Raubon Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I discovered I'm no longer sad when I see a game delayed. I'm actually excited when a game gets delayed now.
Yeah, I mean, because it really does make you realize that the team is calculating that sort of thing, that they're taking things into account, not just hoping for the best. It's deeply unfortunate this week since New World is crashing down around my shoulders and I don't have an easy out. But December 3rd is just around the corner, so we'll be playing Endwalker then and life will be grand.
I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to get caught up, so it gives me a little bit more time.
And it gives me time to pop in and actually farm some of the Moogle stuff, which is going until the pre-launch, I think. So
It is, yeah.
I think I have a lot of the mounts. I mostly just want the jacket, and I think there's another doggo that I don't have. The satin jacket is amazing. In other weird news, Fallen Earth is back.
Yeah, Fallen Earth is back. Nobody, including the Fallen Earth devs I know, understands why.
Because somebody decided to ride the wave of classic game re-releases.
Yeah,
I guess so.
I mean, people were real excited about, Star Wars Galaxies being available via a server and City of Heroes, being available to play again. So yeah, why not Fallen Earth?
I mean, Fallen Earth wasn't a good game, so
Well, wait. Was it not a good game?
Sure,
Was
somebody
it
thought
not
it
a
was.
game?
People seem
Or-
excited about it.
Or was it a great game that got champions onlined?
no, it was okay. So my problem with Fallen Earth is it had two modes of operation. There was basically like navigation mode and moving around the world and shooting mode.
But hear me out. Have you played the new Fallen Earth?
I've not played
2.0.
I have not played the new Fallen Earth. Is it better?
It is It is so much better. It is a very enjoyable game. If I had this game at the time, it would be great. Do you know what they changed?
What did they change?
It's 100% the same game, but they give you the items you start the tutorial with.
I don't know that makes it better though to me.
Oh, it makes it a lot better.
So for me, my problem is I went into that game expecting it to largely control in shooter mode all the time, and then have built a UI that worked to do all the things that I needed while I was in shooter mode.
You can mostly interact in shooter mode pretty well.
Yeah, they did add the ability to interact with things in shooter mode.
Okay, well that right there maybe makes it better. Because like you used to have to constantly toggle back and forth between the two. So you had to kill something with shooter mode, but then if you wanted to loot something, you had to toggle back to interact mode.
If you click on a corpse, it loots for you.
Yeah,
okay.
you don't have to toggle back and forth.
That makes it better right there. But
honestly,
because
like I logged and Ash isn't here to chuckle at this, but I loaded this up because I was like in a gaming doldrum and was like, I don't know, maybe this will be good for a laugh. It costs me $0 and a tiny amount of hard drive space. And then I played it all night. I was like, wait, what is this game?
Well, I heard they also just start you in the correct starting town.
Yeah.
Because there was one starting town that was arguably the correct choice. And if you started in the other towns, you were just out in the hinterlands.
You get the option of which town you want to start in?
I thought somebody was telling me that it basically heavily emphasizes you should start in the crafter town.
I did not feel like it did that. I actually started in the I want to shoot things town because all I wanted to do was shoot things.
Okay. But what about all your ammo that you have to craft?
Oh, they make it really easy.
Okay.
They actually that was another thing. Like there's a bunch of quality of life changes that I have to imagine happened after we all instantly bounced.
Yeah, like I didn't play for very long, and I didn't play at launch either. So it had probably been out for a year or two when I tried it, and I was like, nope.
Yeah. But like there's some quality of life stuff that it's actually like, am I gonna say it's a great game? No, but it's definitely interesting. Like I had a fun time hopping in and shooting people and doing quests and roaming around. A lot more than I expected for a game as old as it is.
Well, it also suffers from a time before we had standardized how the controls were supposed to work.
Oh yeah. This game is from 2009. It's
really, like, I thought it was earlier than that.
Right?
Yeah, like in my head, I thought that was a significantly earlier thing than 2009. Like, because WoW existed in 2009. WoW was super popular in 2009. Like, because I can remember it feeling like kind of like Anarchy Online controlled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it took a few years for other developers to kind of get caught up to the new, like WoW came in like Star Wars came into science fiction movies, like,
or Mario 64 came into video games.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that by the time we had reached City of Heroes, we had pretty much arrived at the WoW style of control prior to WoW launch.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially if you go back and look at City of Heroes, it feels real familiar. Like, it's not super different than the control scheme that we got used to over the years. I often regret, like, what if I hadn't got into WoW beta? Would I have played City of Heroes significantly more? Because basically, whenever I got into WoW beta, it ruined my City of Heroes experience from that point forward.
Yeah, yep. I mean, I never got into City of because superheroes aren't really my thing, but I played it before WoW, and then WoW beta totally obliterated it.
You didn't know all of us prior to WoW, did you?
No.
Because Shiana and I and several, like Vernie, all played City Heroes together. So, like, I had known Shiana at that point already. Because we all came from Horizon, now called Istaria.
I met Shiana arguing about City of in general chat in Ironforge.
Shiana was a big fan.
Like, it is still one of my crowning achievements is managing to bait Shiana into a general chat argument, because it's hard to do.
Well, like, we had just come from playing City Heroes at that point, I think. That's hilarious, though. I don't know, like, I kind of now want to try it to see if how bad it played in my memory holds, or if it's much better than I remember.
So the thing that I really realized hopping back into Fallen Earth to come full circle, my internet was bad in 2009.
Yeah, like, there was that too.
I was DSL, at 2009.
I thought my internet was good. Like, I had the good internet as best as I could get it at that time. But internet's a lot better now. And a bunch of stuff that just wasn't possible or didn't feel good feels fine, because now it's easy. Like, janky rubber banding, weird, like, trying to do action combat in an MMO, like, none of that happens anymore. We're done with that. We're well beyond that technical limitation.
Yeah, like, in 2009, I was using 2 meg DSL, and it was already feeling real taxed from what everybody else had, because, like, cable wasn't really available for me at that point, or cable internet, that is. That was the era of me needing to start a download before I went to bed and letting it go if I needed to download a patch or a game or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's weird how, like, we misremember how things were in the past until you're given, like, a, temporal anchor, like an event that brings it all back into clarity.
Right? That was 12 years ago.
I know. That was the year I started my current job. I've been in my current position that entire time.
Like, basically no aspect of my life is the same as it was at that point.
I've moved 4 times and 4 time zones in that time.
I mean, like, I'm a bit older than most of y'all. So I was 33 in 2009, I think.
I'm actually curious. So when you played this game, Bell, did they take away all of your cool tutorial weapons and give you the, like, airsoft gun that you had to, like...
No, it was even worse than that. Like, they took away all your tutorial weapons, but then they made you craft your new gun.
Yeah, and your new gun was
just a pea shooter.
It was a pea shooter that took, like, 6 seconds to reload.
Yep. Like, yeah. It basically reminded me of a paintball gun.
Except paintball guns, you can fire semi-automatic.
Like a paintball gun, but if you were manually putting, like, one bullet in at a time. Yeah,
putting a bullet in and manually compressing the air.
Paintball gun circa a hand-pumped paintball gun circa 1996.
And like, I have to stress, it was miserable. Like, I vividly remember I had so much fun. What a cool hook that the game gives you. Like, you go on this awesome adventure and then your character dies, but you're a clone, and like this is how they set things up. You're back from the dead, cloned into a new body, but now the cloning stuff doesn't work, and like it's on you to figure this out. And it's like, oh man, what a cool intro, what a cool hook. Go out into the world, start shooting things, and like the first thing you fight makes you realize how miserable the game is. And it's supposed to make you think, oh man, I can't wait till I have that gun again. But what it really makes you think is, I do not want to spend the time with this game doing this that will take me to get that gun, especially if that's a level 60 gun.
Like, I remember specifically that the first mission after rezzing back up sent me to a cave, and there were just like some random rats in the cave, and they trounced me because it was so long between shots.
Wow.
And I was constantly backpedaling, and like, this is not fun. This is the opposite of fun. It was manageable up until the point that I got to that point, and but clearly I wanted to run out to wherever my body died and go loot my corpse because I want my gear back. Yeah, that's just so weird. Like, I thought I misread it the first time I saw somebody reporting on Fallen Earth coming back, or that they were talking about like an emulated server or something.
Nope.
Not like legitimately. And who's running Fallen Earth now?
I have no idea. Everyone I know who worked on that game was like, sorry, what?
Yep, it's back.
All I can think of is that, what's the
Gamers First? I have no idea what that company is.
I think they might be in the business of like managing husks of MMOs. They also have APB, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, but I've heard that, like, so I've actually heard of people playing APB again, and that significant quality of life changes were made to that game to actually make it playable.
I mean, this is also the reporting you should be taking away from Fallen Earth.
I mean,
like,
maybe that's what they do. They're like,
can we get them to
like
buy
rehab
champions
for MMOs in crisis?
Can we get them to buy out literally everything that Game Ago has? Like, I just want someone to buy Rift and do right by that game, because Cacao bought ArcAge and is now drastically removing all the pay-to-win cash shop stuff from ArcAge.
I don't know how you fix Rift.
Can we get them to buy WildStars?
Ah, man.
No.
Like that would be easier if WildStar were actually in some functional state somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, what state was Fallen Earth in? It wasn't.
Well, Fallen Earth operated
anywhere
for a decade prior to this resurrection. Like, Fallen Earth died not too long ago. I think it was 2019 is when Fallen Earth officially went offline. So it'd only been a couple years.
Wow. I did not realize it was that recent.
Yeah.
Like,
it was limping along, living its worst life.
It's one of those weird games where it is, despite coming out after WoW, it has a lot of that like pre and WoW era, early WoW era MMO where it's so inexpensive to stay what's this called? It's so inexpensive to keep running that it's like whatever.
Well, and a lot of those early games had very limited interaction between client and server to where like you didn't really need a lot of server hardware to run it. Because a lot of those early games really were effectively an IRC server with additional functionality.
Yeah, I mean, and the player counts were tiny comparatively. I mean, EverQuest was so excited about 100,000 players.
Yeah, I mean, like, each individual server was about 3,000 players at any given time for the most popular servers in EverQuest.
Yeah.
And DOC was about the same. The one that I would love to play again, but has been long dead for a really long time, is I think it was called Auto Assault.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked with somebody who worked on Auto Assault.
Where basically instead of a character, you're a car, but... And like you blow things up and loot parts off of other vehicles to upgrade your own vehicle. Like it was an entertaining game. Like I remember alpha and beta testing it, and it was a lot of fun. It just wasn't fun enough for me to buy it when it went out. But I do wonder about some of those early ideas, like if they could ever be. So imagine a game like Auto Assault with the fidelity of something like Rocket League, to where it had like, I don't know, Destiny style combat, but it's driving. Like, I think that's a thing that would go over.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
I mean, like, there's a lot of those early ideas that I think, if revisited with the fidelity that we can bring to a game now, they would succeed.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird experimentation back in the day. I mean, I was pretty heavily into a game called Neocron, which
I remember that. It was kind of a successor to Anarchy Online, right?
Yeah, it was like, what if Anarchy Online, but
more shooter,
like more shooter and more cyberpunk.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was cool. Like, it was cool in theory. It wasn't actually fun to play, but it was cool in theory. And like, now we could do it.
Yeah, but like, really, if you think back about it, like, if you had put us in front of half the games we played back then, we wouldn't play them again.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, I was super into Earth Above and Beyond, I think was.
I wanted to get into that.
Yeah, it was like another big global trading combat kind of game that was trying to do something that it couldn't really.
It was like arcadey Eve.
Earth and Beyond.
Yeah. Earth and Beyond. Yeah, there you go.
Above and Beyond was a TV show.
Okay. Yeah. Space Above and Beyond and Earth and Beyond. We're getting mixed up in my head. Yeah.
See,
Space Above and Beyond was Vietnam in space.
Yeah. And see, now I'm remembering playing Trade Wars.
God, I don't remember Trade Wars. I've heard about it, but I don't know what it was.
Oh, it was a BBS game, so it was like purely text, but it was like flying your ship around this, like, I think it was a total of like 3,600 systems connected up into a big galaxy, and like there were, NPC enemy spaceships you could run into. There were, trade posts. You could build your own starports, transport goods in between them, run into other players, and try to shoot them down and take their goods, or get shot down by them. It was pretty fun.
I remember some BBS door game that I thought was Trek themed, but maybe it was Trade Wars. I don't know.
That could have been Trade Wars. The other big space one that I remember is Planets, which was the other game by the guy that did Legend of the Red Dragon, which was a similar sort of like traveling through space, buying and selling, and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much every BBS had Trade Wars, if they had anything.
It may be what I was thinking of as Trek, because like that probably would have been either that or Star Control would have been my closest points of reference. I mean, really, as cheap as computing is right now, it would probably be money making to resurrect old MMOs like that.
Yeah.
And charge a basic fee to get into them.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be all that much.
That's the problem I have with Gamico is they like literally hook an old MMO up to a machine and try and drain it of as many bodily fluids as they can until it's just a husk that nobody's playing, and then they shuffle it off and buy some other property that's failing and do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in as much question as I've had about Daybreak, they've not done a horrible job of being stewards of the EverQuest franchise. I mean, they got rid of a lot of things that SOE was running, probably just to stem the bleeding, but like they've done a good enough job with EverQuest.
There's like 4 people whose job it is to put out EverQuest expansions. Like, I don't know how many people still actively work on EverQuest, but it's a non-zero number. They released an expansion this year.
They released 2 expansions a year almost.
That's madness.
Like, and the thing is like what's weird about it is every time they release an expansion for EverQuest, they are actively improving the quality of the assets they're putting into it. So it's not just asset flipping. Like, they're creating new stuff that looks better, new zones that look better, And I mean, obviously there's some people playing it still, but it has a far better starter experience than it used to.
I believe that.
But also, like, a lot of people playing EverQuest are running around with an army of mercenaries soloing it, because you can now basically have mercenaries of each type of class and run around and do raid content on your own, and
Well,
it caters to the audience that's left.
All right. I mean, once they're sufficiently attached to a game, like there'll be some people that stay till they shut the lights out.
Well, and like, I think to some extent there are a lot of people that have an older machine and have never upgraded it and are still playing the things that machine could play. It's real costly to upgrade a machine.
yeah.
It is.
I know it.
Yeah.
PSA, check your surge protectors.
Are they saying they think it was surge protector problems?
I checked the surge protector on that I was protecting my whole rig setup with, and it was completely fried. And like,
Ooh.
didn't look recently completely fried. Like maybe it's been fried for a while and it just took these recent storms. For anybody playing the home game, there's been a bunch of storms near where I live, and at one point it blew out my KVM, both of my monitors, and when I turned off my computer to plug in a UPS, it wouldn't boot up and then wouldn't turn on at all. And yeah, the motherboard and CPU were completely fried. So end of the day was ship of Theseusing my entire rig to replace monitors, my work laptop dock, motherboard, CPU, power supply. I mean, everything.
Yes, and we had the discussion earlier as to whether or not it's a new computer.
The hard drives are the only thing. The hard drives are the only original parts left.
Yep, I have absolutely done the ship of Theseus over the years, and then found myself needing to replace the thing wholesale eventually, sadly.
Yeah.
In my case, I managed to brick the BIOS.
Oof.
Yeah, it's bad times.
Yeah. But anyway, now I've got the thing plugged into an industrial server grade UPS.
Good
so
plan.
It doesn't happen again. Thank you, work.
I'm just glad your graphics card was not one of the things that.
Me too. Me too.
Because that would have been the worst timing.
Real bad times.
Oh, it would have been incredibly bad time. I mean, it would have been just like, well, I guess I just don't have a computer for months.
Yep.
Which would have sucked. Yeah, check your surge protectors.
So a game that I think's been floating on the list for a couple weeks now. Tam, you've been playing a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh man, Bell, you remember? You remember the Avengers
and how bad that was?
Well, and not just how bad it was, but how exciting it was initially, and then how bad it turned out to be.
Yeah.
What if you had the inverse of that?
About how generally uninterested, I am, and then it turns out to be great.
After my experience with Avengers, I was like, Guardians of the Galaxy, no.
Not falling for this trap again,
No.
Especially not from Square.
Yeah, fooled me once, absolutely not. And then I started reading reviews, and they were great. So I picked it up. I picked it up and gave it a shot, and it's actually super fun and charming. Like, you're running around with the Guardians of the Galaxy crew. It's leaning a little bit more on the comic side.
Oh no.
The fact, well, it's leaning a little bit more on the comic side, but mostly that means that this is gonna be mean. you know how the fact that your characters in the Avengers didn't look kind of like, but not enough like the actors to make like a whole Uncanny Valley thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm going to go ahead and posit that Star-Lord not looking like Chris Pratt is an unqualified positive.
I mean, I honestly like comic Star-Lord better than movie Star-Lord.
Same, absolutely,
He's
hands
great.
down.
Yeah, like me too. I mean, if it's definitely not movie Star-Lord, but I'm guessing it's coming from somewhere, and it's honestly pretty good. And the fact that your other characters are a raccoon, a tree, an alien dude, and another alien lady, like you don't really notice that your characters don't look exactly like the movie ones. Plus, they also have movie skins if you're really into it.
Well, and to be fair, honestly, like the Avengers thing, that was a problem for the first hour, and I got used to it after that. Like, it didn't really bother me after that.
And like,
I mean, I think the first thing I heard about it that made me like really set up to take notice was I saw something that mentioned that apparently Lady Hellbender shows up in it fairly early on.
Oh yes,
and she is a fairly deep cut, like a relatively recently added character to the Marvel universe, but not very well known, and also just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, she's hilarious.
Her whole thing is she wants to capture and then like protect monsters.
And Drax has an absolutely absurd crush on her. Or possibly the other way around. It's hard to tell. But like, it's I have genuinely laughed multiple times playing through this game because it's like it's got sharp, at least as far as I've gotten, it's got sharp writing, but also like it's got sharp writing, but also these shockingly great character moments.
Well, also, I didn't realize that initially. I gather you are only playing as Star-Lord, but you have the rest of the team with you, and you're basically giving them commands, and I guess can call everybody in for a huddle.
Yes,
which then leads to you like doing an awesome team move.
Yeah, basically, you can like pep talk your team.
Okay, that sounds pretty great.
It's legitimately pretty fun. Like Star-Lord himself is not a huge badass, but like you kind of know that. You kind of know what you're getting into here. But he is charismatic and he can talk up his team and, you know, direct people, and it actually works. You've got interesting puzzles.
Does it play like how does it play then? Like is it similar like a brawler like Avengers was?
Yes, but tighter. One of the things that I noticed with the Avengers was there was a ton of like animation locking, and it just felt clunky. And this feels less clunky, and not least because you have a lot of you have a decent amount of freedom of movement because you're spending a lot of time on weird alien planets. But like you can fly around the battlefield as Star-Lord. It's just a thing you can do, and you've got your little like twin pistol-y things. It's like zapping people with laser pistols, flying around the battlefield, making jokes, and telling people what to do.
And I gather that the weapons are actually his element blasters out of the comics. So
yes.
That's great.
Yes, I appreciate that just because that's cooler than just laser guns, and B, that gives them the ability to have like different sorts of, you know, projectiles and different things that they can do with them, and I gather they take advantage of that.
Like I've only unlocked one element so far, which is ice, but like, yep, that's a whole thing. I mean, it's kind of fun freezing an enemy solid and then having Drax throw it at another enemy. That's pretty funny.
And it's just basically a straight up standalone game. No live service anything.
I haven't if there is, I haven't seen any. You might be able to buy like outfits or whatever, but like
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the outfits, you know, were purchase, because there's apparently a lot of them.
But I've also found a bunch of them in the game world, and like I don't know, maybe when I get to the end of the story, it'll be like run these levels over and over again. But like I don't need to do that. I'll just.
I mean, as of right now, there is no DLC available on Steam for it. Like, it's just the game, and there's a digital deluxe version of it that I don't know what that has.
But like, thus far, it's a really fun story-driven thing, flying around random planets. doing just being an absolutely disaster person. Like the whole the Guardians of the Galaxy are not competent. Not as a whole.
I mean, you know, when it's really, really important, they can pull it together.
Yeah. But mostly they're just disaster people. And the game really leans into that. And it's funny. It's honestly as fun as watching the movie.
That's really encouraging to hear, because I've been kind of curious about it, but I look at it and I'm like, I mean, are they trying to go more for the movie look? And I mean, I've said before that I'm very much a big fan of the comic series, the original, like the volume 2 and the comics and stuff like that. So it's like, I want this to be good, but I'm not sure if this is for me yet. So it's starting to sound like maybe this might be something for me.
I've been enjoying it.
Like, I mean, if they're using characters like Lady Hellbender, like that gives me hope that characters like maybe Phyla-Vell or Moondragon, or Quasar might show up. This would make me happy.
I mean, so Drax is bright green and red with stripes, to give you an idea of, or he's got this crazy red pattern going on. Yeah,
it's Drax post kind of popping out of his old body almost. It was a weird thing. Yeah. But that's when he got the daggers and started getting all stabby. Before that he had a cape and tended to just be really big and strong and sometimes dumb.
It's got
also he plays a meat saxophone. I really hope that comes up in the game at some point.
I have no idea. You can definitely find items and take them to people. You can find items in levels and take them to people and get their comments on them.
Yeah, because if you did not know, Drax was originally a human man named Arthur Douglas, and he played saxophone.
Wow.
Then Thanos blew up his car with him and his wife and daughter in it. And then Thanos' dad came and was like, I feel bad about that. Here, I'm going to give you a whole new body, and now you can go, kill Thanos. Have fun.
Thanos has a dad?
Oh, yeah. And a brother. He's got a whole family.
They are kind of weird.
They are, in fact, the Eternals. But not those Eternals. The ones that live on Titan.
Other ones. There's also there's a whole lot of 80s music, as you would expect. I do think it's funny that if you pep talk the team successfully, the boss music transitions into one of a variety of 80s music tracks. All right.
That sounds kind of fun. So it sounds like they took some of the really good, really fun elements from the movies. I mean, because I don't want to sound like I didn't totally enjoy the movies. It's just I was hoping a little more for the comics thing, but I did enjoy stuff like that. So that sounds really cool.
It's definitely a blend, and I don't know the comics, but judging by the movie, it's definitely blending some comic stuff in.
Nice.
And it's Star-Lord is I think the most different character is Star-Lord, but I like him better in this than in the movie.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Star-Lord would be the character that differs the most between the comics and the movie. Yes.
Star-Lord is far more serious in the comics.
He's much less of a goof in the comics.
Well, he's more serious. He's simultaneously more serious, but also so much more of a disaster person.
Yeah. I
mean that kind of checks out for the comics sometimes too.
Yeah. I mean, in the comics, he's he doesn't have the same terrible dad, but he's still got a really terrible dad.
Yeah.
And in some ways, his paternity makes even more problems for him. I think he might currently be the ruler of his home planet in the comics right now. I know he was for a little while. It was a whole thing.
Sounds like a horrible idea.
Oh, it was a terrible idea.
That's where the disaster part comes in and fits right in, yeah.
I mean, he was also engaged to Kitty Pryde for a little while. That was also a terrible idea.
From what I remember of Drax, he kind of looked like an evil Martian Manhunter originally.
Yeah. Yeah, his original version was very much a Like he was a very superhero outfit, just like big, but he was big and green.
It was like purple and a skull belt or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, big gold skull belt. I mean, he had a cape. Like, that's the era that he was created in.
I picked it up and it ripped me away from Tales of Arise, which I had previously jumped into. I did not expect that to be a thing.
Interesting. This might need to be my next pickup after I finish Metroid Dread.
Like, I'd be really interested to hear what other people, especially more comics fans than me, feel about it, because like I thought the writing was snappy and it's pretty fun to run around and do stuff. Turn the difficulty down, because the difficulty is like weirdly high,
which probably makes it somewhat unfun.
I mean, like, I don't think I've hit anything that I thought was unfun, but there is stuff where I'm like, wow, I died and didn't expect to die there. I had a couple of bosses that have like just worked me over.
Have you run into any horrible green and purple bugmen yet?
Not yet, but I did run into like a space cop that Star-Lord slept with or something.
No. I mean,
someone from the Nova Corps?
Yeah.
I mean, it's presumably a Nova, yeah, because they are very space cops. That scans.
And like the whole rest of the team is like, you slept with a cop. What's wrong with you? And he's like,
If you hear of anything called Annihilus or any references to annihilation, be very concerned.
Yeah.
Like, extremely concerned.
Fair enough. I ran into a llama, like a space llama.
I do not recall any space llamas. Space ponies, yes. Not so much space llamas.
There's a lot of weird game going on.
The space ponies have superpowers and fight snarks. Be concerned if you run into them as well. That is a purple llama. All right.
I have heard that you probably want to avoid the Switch version because it is a streaming version of the game and is not a good streaming version of the game.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Huh. I did not know that game, you could get it on Switch, and I wouldn't have expected that given playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that have come out for the Switch recently that are streaming the game from the internet, but they're not all real clear about telling you that's what's happening. I mean, for example, you can play Control on your Switch, and Control is a very high graphical fidelity game. So another thing that's happened this week is Outriders released a big content patch, and also I didn't realize that Outriders had only come out this year.
What? Wait.
Yes, April. It came out in April of this year.
I don't know what time is anymore.
Yeah.
Wait, we had an April this year? Really? Okay.
So yeah, I like in my head, I played Outriders last year. That is what I mentally thought, but no, I didn't. It was this year. And for the most part, there hadn't been much going on in the game until all of a sudden they released the Outriders New Horizon patch and rebalanced a bunch of stuff. Took away the number one thing I hated about the end game of Outriders, which was, so they had all these expeditions, but they were all timed. And as soon as you started an expedition, you were on a clock. And the longer you took, the worse the rewards were that you got. So that ended up making everyone favor glass cannon, pure DPS builds, because you kind of had to have that to be able to clear within time. So it's like the equivalent of only having a Greater Rift, but no, Nef Rift. So, they remove timers from all the expeditions. You can turn them on manually if you want one, but like it doesn't do anything to your rewards. It's just a thing. You can flex and say you cleared it within a specific timer. They added 4 more expeditions. They rebalanced a bunch of, stuff, and in general, everything feels like players feel a little tankier and feel like they deal a little bit more damage. The biggest thing is they added a full cosmetic system.
Oh, good.
And it is the best kind of cosmetic system, aka when something drops, you just get the appearance.
Yes.
You don't have to eat the item, you just get the appearance. So this week, this has led me to running a bunch of stuff, mostly just to farm cosmetic gear because they didn't pre-populate the system with anything other than what you had in your bank.
Mm-hmm.
So now you kind of just need to run a bunch of content to get greens and blues and purples and legendaries to drop. So earlier today, Warren and I were running expeditions together, and that was quite a bit of fun. Running with another player is significantly better for expeditions than soloing them, because if you die, you fail the mission, but if you're running with another player, they can res you, and there's even like a self-res timer that eventually kicks in. So I feel like that's maybe a change they need to make, is give you like a number of failures before you enter the true fail state of the expedition, since, you know, you're instantly making it easier by adding another player. But yeah, all in all, it was kind of cool, and they announced that they're releasing a DLC for the game in February, which adds new content and new stuff to do. So the game has apparently continued to truck along. Like, apparently there's an entire community that I didn't know existed, that does like carries and to get people like all the levels unlocked if they need it. And I have not done that thing, but I am trying to build a workable build on my main character, and been playing an alt quite a bit. And I've decided, like, I kind of wish you could gender change a character in that game, because I like running around with a female character a lot more than the big bulky male character that I started with. It just feels like I can see around the character easier for aiming purposes. But I don't know, it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, it's free, you know, so if you ever play the game, you can patch up and try the new stuff. The only thing that's really missing from a cosmetic system is a dye option. But the game didn't have dyes anyway. But it is nice being able to just like choose an appearance for any item. It is limited based on weapon type, so you can't like have a submachine gun that looks like a sniper rifle, but otherwise it's pretty wide open.
I wonder, like, by content patch, do you mean more story?
No, not in the terms of like traditional story. Okay. All of the expansions all the expeditions have a story around them.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's more akin to the story that plays out during a Destiny strike, where you're encountering characters oftentimes from the main story. Like, there's one of the expeditions is fighting Moloch, which is the big bad dude that you kind of only fight briefly in the actual story, and there's a whole other mission to take them down via expedition. Or the little prophet guy that you vaguely encounter but you don't actually take down in the story. Well, you run into them again during an expedition. Or the guy in the jungle that is the guerrilla fighter that you never actually resolve in the story. You end up encountering them again in these expeditions. So they kind of tie in, the expeditions do. There are two kinds of expeditions. There's ones that reward pod drops or whatever that currency is called, and then there's other ones that have significantly higher rewards, but they take a certain amount of the currency to run it. And those, I think, are actually, like, they seem to be longer, more story-driven missions, but they also, like, I think they have a guaranteed legendary drop for running them, so that's why they cost something to run. The other big change that they made was, so previously there was a rewards vendor, but the rewards vendor had like a static loot table that you could only buy like 6 items off of them ever. And once you had bought those, that vendor was now useless. They've put in a system that allows you to re-roll what they have, so you spend a little bit of the end game currency to get a completely different loot table. So eventually over time, if there's a specific legendary that you're hunting for a build, you can get it through that system. But I know at some point they drastically increased the drop rates of legendaries. And since coming back, over the last couple days, I think I've gotten 5 legendaries, which is significantly higher than I had ever gotten before. So, and if you just install the game and go in to talk to Tiago, which is the legendary vendor, there's a legendary that you can pick up for free, which is a really good one. It's one that I use quite a bit. I forget what it's called, but basically like every time you reload the weapon, the first thing that fires is like a plasma grenade out of it. So you can like do a lot of wave clear with that plasma grenade each time you reload the weapon. So yeah, for free content, like it's kind of cool.
That's neat. I bounced off of the incredible dark storytelling of that game.
Yes.
But like the gameplay was really fun.
And honestly, like, I hope someone takes some lessons away from the way that system works, because it's really cool in that you collect the perks off of all the weapons and armor, and then can change perks on any item to be one of the things that you've already collected, which allows you to like really hone in on a specific build. So like there's a lot of items that have gotten to drop where, this would be great, but for this one perk, and I can quickly go to the vendor and swap that one perk to be the one I need it to be. And you can only swap one perk per item, which is similar to the Diablo 3 Enchanter, but it gives you some measure of control over those almost right drops. Because like that's always the problem in a game with that Diablo style loot, is nothing is ever 100% correct. It can get close, but this allows you to kind of fine tune items to be more like what you're actually wanting.
Yeah,
which is really nice. Yeah, and I realized I was probably the only one of us that got as far as I did, but apparently Warren like maxed out his item level in that game, so he was carrying me for a while today.
Yeah, I mean, I did.
And it's not just he's maxed out one; he's got several characters that are very high.
Well,
I have one character that's pretty close to the max, but then another one that's so painfully far from the max it's not even funny. But because like once you hit 30, which is the maximum level, you start unlocking additional gear levels through doing higher tiers of content, and the maximum gear level you can get to is 50, and I think I'm 47 or 48 currently, and Warren was capped at 50 on a couple characters, so he and before today, I think I was 43. So he helps me get significant progress.
Nice.
Anyway, I think another thing that you've been playing, Tam, is some Star Citizen.
Yeah, it's 2021. Star Citizen's in alpha. I think that I spoke about this game on the podcast like a couple of years ago. Which I think is the last time I logged in was a couple of years ago. But the last time I logged in, it had just they had just gotten to they had like just started to create the persistent world, and there were like missions, and I went on a mission that was a story mission that was like go figure out what happened at this blown out space station. And it was cool. Like, I remember it was cool. I flew to the place, got into like hovered around it, hopped out of my ship and, EVA'd over to the what's this called? The station, which was all completely blown out. So I'm in there with like my flashlight, with my oxygen meter running, collecting clues and putting things together. Figured out what was going on, and then made my way back. And it was a neat little exploration mission. I did another one in a PvP hot zone, and got world PvP'd, and it wasn't the worst experience ever. It was like I left the hatch on my ship open while I went and checked this thing, and someone bogarted my ship and flew off with it. And like,
what do you expect when you leave these in the ignition?
Right. And so when I got back to a space station, I went to the ship terminal and hit insurance claim and got my ship back. No muss, no fuss. Probably would have been annoying if it was full of like, I don't know, ore or other valuables, but like, why would you hop out of your ship in the middle of a mining run? And so I hopped back into it recently because I don't even remember why. Vague temptation to do so. And like, there's a whole first person shooter game in this game. I did a mission the other night where I hopped in my ship, flew over to a place and shot down flew out of orbit, jumped to another planet, flew back into atmosphere, all seamlessly, shot down a VTOL ship that was guarding a like secure facility, and then went in there with armor and a rifle to fight some pirates that were trying to take over the facility. And like, then I pulled all of the cool loot off of the pirates and made a bunch of trips back to my ship to deposit it all, and now I've got a bunch of random guns and stuff. And it's a very simmy sort of game in the way that Elite Dangerous is, but it's also much more interesting. Like Elite Dangerous has a lot of really careful simulationist stuff that is cool if you're into the very simulationist part, but like, I ultimately didn't find it all that interesting. Whereas it's more interesting to have like Flight is more arcadey. There's like more interesting physics stuff going on, but like dogfighting is more interesting. I'm not like weirdly micromanaging my, gimbals.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can hop in and fly around and blow up stuff and go look for missing persons, deal with weather. That was a whole thing that I wasn't prepared for. A mission I was doing last night, I was supposed to go check on a ship that went down, and the ship that went down, turns out it was in a big storm. And so I went to land my ship and got blown way off course into some terrain, which is not good for your ship, and was able to, find the person and the stuff they were looking for, but then had to like limp back. My ship wasn't going to take back off, so I had to pop open the hatch and take a land vehicle out and drive it back to civilization.
I think these games are super cool sounding. I just have like this trouble where I don't really want to play a flight sim, and I almost wish these would get to the point to where like, so say if this were like a space, simulation, and it were actual out of space, like you could hire a pilot. And like, if it could get to the point to where you could like buy an AI pilot that would just do whatever you wanted it to do with enough fidelity to get you around, then I think Star Citizen would be super interesting. Because like, they've added enough other functionality that's not flight sim that I think there's still a game there, even if you don't want to fly the ships.
Yeah, absolutely there is. Like, that's the bit that's been blowing my mind lately, is there are multiple entire games in this game. There were there was somebody recruiting in general for basically people to they were like, hey, we've got this mission, we want to share this mission, we need a team of people, we basically need a team of grunts with guns, we've got the dropship pilot, we've got our demolitions person, we just need people with armor and guns.
Yeah, and that's compelling to me. Like, okay, I just want to be a space marine in this world.
Yeah.
Like I want to drop down as a mercenary, shoot the things, bring the treasure back to the ship, and have someone else deal with like the getaway car.
Yeah. And it's not quite to the point where you could run around solo and have like a hired AI pilot, but like I feel like they could get there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously an AI pilot wouldn't be as good as a human behind the wheel. Like, you wouldn't want it to be, you know, so in a dogfight, a human would always win over an AI. Like, that's the theory. But if you just want to, okay, take me to this, you know, solar system, drop me off on this planet, pick me up in like, you know, X amount of time or whenever I call you, and I'm going to go explore that planet and gather resources, and then you're going to fly me back home with whatever I've found. And hope nobody gets in the way of that because the AI is not going to be able to handle it.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a thing that you can do multiplayer, and it's like almost there single player. And even like, you know, there's plenty of missions that I found that don't even involve like taking a ship somewhere. Like if you just want to roll around in your tank or your like Destiny style hover bike and just do like on planet missions where you're zooming around, like that seems to be a thing you can do. Probably takes you a while to get places, but yeah, like it's really interesting to see how much is there. You know, there's a whole bunch of ships that have multiple seats, multiple like, you know, just places for people to be that don't even necessarily mean pilot, co-pilot. There's like gunners, there's a ship that I have that has basically a cargo bay with a security like seat in it, so you could have like the person just guarding the cargo bay. Like, yeah, development on this game has been real slow, but it is real interesting what all has happened in the interim. Like I've made plenty of vaporware jokes over the years.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more here than I would have expected.
I mean, my hope was, you know, if this actually successfully got made, that it would end up being, you know, privateer, but more so. And it sounds like maybe they succeeded.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's alpha, it's janky, some stuff breaks, but I don't know, for anybody who's played other games in alpha or like other early access stuff, you can sometimes see the stuff where it's like, yeah, okay, when I'm walking down this hallway, there's some weird bugged out, like really jarringly bugged out geometry. Or like sometimes I fall through the world and die, and that's annoying. But the game that's there is surprisingly great, like surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. There's a whole thing that pops up. There's a whole thing that's popped up that I've seen where a player who gets incapacitated somewhere can call for help, and it'll send out a ping. And like I've seen these pop up where it's like, I can accept this ping and go help this person. It's the Res Plus EverQuest thing, except that it's a game mechanic, and you get rewarded like you completed a mission if you go help somebody. And that's pretty neat. Like there's still a bunch of like awkward micromanagement. It's pretty embarrassing to like roll up into a firefight and realize that I have no ammo for my gun. Or to forget my helmet somewhere, and then realize that leave my helmet on a ship, and then when the ship respawns, it spawned on an exterior docking bay. So I have to like I don't know, run out into space without a helmet and hope that I can make it to my ship fast enough to not to die. PS can't. It didn't work super well.
Holding your breath in space is not a good proposition.
No,
There's whole other problems that you're dealing with too.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems. It's like there's a couple of things that are a little bit too simmy. Like look, I really just want to get downstairs. I'm a first person shooter. I'm gonna hop the railing and drop the like 25 feet.
Oops, you broke your ankle.
Yeah, like whoops, I broke my ankle. That's not quite the level of sim that I needed, but whatever. On the other hand, if I turn the ship onto autopilot and am doing something back in the cargo bay and get hit by a meteor or an asteroid, or like bounce off some like space dust or whatever, and it sends the ship into turbulence, it's kind of neat that I fall down and have to get back up.
The real question is, when this happens, do loud klaxons play? Because I feel like they need to.
Depends on the ship. One of my complaints about Elite Dangerous is that all of the ships look and feel kind of the same. Like not in terms of the actual the actual maneuvering and weapons all feel different, but like all the ships are just a big square or a big like trapezoid, whereas the ships in this are all kinds of different shapes and you can move around inside of them. So there's a big difference between the Avenger Titan, which is this real no frills, military cargo hauler. So it's got basically no creature comforts. The cockpit looks like a fighter jet with all of the lack of any kind of comfort whatsoever that I expect from a fighter jet, etc. Or you've got like the 300i, which is the Audi of spaceships, and has like a coffee maker on a nice like fancy wood paneled kitchenette behind the cockpit next to a bed that you can sleep in. And also you can play for free for the next couple of weeks.
I don't even know how one gets access to this game.
You just go to you could just go to their website and be like, hey, I want to play. And they just let you go.
You download an installer.
It's like any MMO. But they do I guess they do a thing every year where for a couple of weeks you can log in, and in-game in one of the major cities, they put up a like a Starship Expo hall with different starships, and you can rent the starships for free. So you can like log in for free, and if you don't even own any starships, you can rent one from the expo and fly around in it for a while.
I may have to do this thing so I can at least see what it's like in person.
It's weird. It's weirdly more than I was expecting more tech demo, but there's more game there than I was expecting, and like it's been pretty fun, and it's been way less. It's sort of as much or as little fly around dogfighting as you want, or mining or whatever. Like there's a whole mining game, which I don't know anything about. There's a whole dogfighting game, which is mostly what I've been doing. There's like investigation missions where you have to get to these sort of hard to access places and find something inside, where you're kind of wandering these, derelict spaceships or caves or whatever. There's like go into a facility and shoot a bunch of people. There's like criminal versions of all of the above, which I haven't really looked at too much. But yeah, it turns out they've just been chugging along.
I guess when you raise as much money as they did, you can kind of just chug along at your own pace.
Yeah, I would probably make a bunch of Elite Dangerous players angry by saying that right now there feels like more game in Star Citizen than in Elite Dangerous.
That sounds like Fighting Word.
I was going to say, I haven't played it, but I also know that there might not be the level of polish to some of the stuff that there is in Elite Dangerous.
It's true. And that is definitely That is definitely a true fact. Like this is a game in alpha. There is some janky stuff.
I would assume that probably the universe is smaller and in less fidelity.
The universe is smaller, but it feels like a lot more fidelity.
Okay.
Because like there's no space station you can walk around in Elite Dangerous. The space station is just a menu. You like land your ship, and then your ship gets like mechanically transported inside the docking platform, and you access a menu. But there isn't a seamless like get out of your cockpit, walk around the space station, drink some juice, some space juice, or a burger. I'll eat like, I don't know. And I don't know why I would eat food. Like definitely a thing I seem to be able to do, but I'm not clear why I would do this thing.
I assume at some point it will probably give you a buff.
Probably. But yeah, I mean, also they've raised like $400 million or something. So, I don't know.
This has definitely been an interesting thing to watch from a distance.
Yeah. Well, and they have I guess they have the money to just proceed at their own pace and really tool into whatever weird thing they're doing.
I will have to go create an account and try this thing while I'm able to. Just because, like, I've always wondered what it was like to actually play it, but also didn't really want to buy in without knowing if it was a thing that I was even interested in.
Yeah, I mean, this thing, through a variety of design changes and so forth, that honestly, I've gotten emails letting me know, like, hey, your original pledge has changed due to design constraints. We've either refunded you or we're giving you a voucher for this other thing, or whatever the case may be. Like, I have a hangar full of ships that I can fly around in, and I don't know why some of them are in my hangar, I'll be honest, because I sure didn't buy them, but I can hop in and fly them around and they're cool. So,
well, and that's always the thing you hear people report about, is just the expense of some of the ships that are available.
Yeah, but you can buy every ship that you can pay money for, you can buy in game.
So there aren't backer exclusive ships.
Quite the opposite. There's probably 3/4 of the ships that exist in the game you can only get in game, and I don't think there's any backer exclusive ship. Honestly, I don't see why you would spend a bunch of money. Like the furthest that I can imagine is picking up a ship and a backup ship in case you don't want to wait for insurance to restore your ship, because that's like 3 to 5 minutes, or you don't want to pay the expedited fee, which is like a third of a mission's worth of credits. If you want to just be like, no, I don't want to wait, give me my ship now. But otherwise, like, yeah, you could buy a ship for $1,000. You can buy a small fleet of ships for like $1,000 in real money, and I don't know why you would do this. But their recurring cost is actually, I think, very clever, which is you can get, for a ship that you own, it's the insurance thing where you've got insurance on your ship, and if something happens to your ship, you can just press a button as long as that ship is insured and get your ship back. And, maybe you collect ships that you aren't insured on through hook or by crook, but, easy come, easy go.
How much does insurance cost?
I have no idea. Most of the ship packages that you get come with like 6 months to a year to, in some cases, lifetime insurance.
Okay.
And so, at some point, part of that is functionally you're buying a 6-month subscription along with your ship, or whatever it works out to. I don't know. But none of that is ticking down until the game actually releases.
Oh, so right now we're just playing in a mode where everybody's got insurance?
Yep.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah, in the alpha, it's nothing is real. You've got the stuff that you would have when the game went live, but like pretty sure none of it's gonna stick around, and you'll reset with like, oh, here's the ships that you have when you start, and insurance and so forth. I happen to think that the insure your stuff so that you can just conveniently and quickly get it back is a really clever spin on subscription fees.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, and then I assume your subscription in that theory would be based upon how much you have.
Yeah.
Or what all you have insured.
Yeah. It's like how much do you want to keep insured at any given time? So you pay a little bit more for how much you're invested in the game.
Yeah. But then that probably becomes very reasonable for somebody who just wants a ship.
Yeah.
Well, that is probably time. Any final thoughts anybody has on anything? Okay. In that case, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Obligatory see ya.